For over a century, the global entertainment industry was controlled by a remarkably small group of individuals whom we often refer to as the gatekeepers. These were the Hollywood studio executives, the heads of multinational record labels, and the directors of national television networks. In that era, the rules of the game were incredibly simple yet brutal. If you wanted to be known by the world, you had to get their blessing. They determined who was allowed into the recording studio, whose face was worthy of appearing on billboards, and who had to remain a passive spectator at home. Exorbitant production costs and a strict monopoly on distribution, channels left the public with no choice but to consume whatever was placed directly in front of them. However, a massive fracture began to appear when the internet was born, and that fracture has now transformed into the total collapse of the barrier, thanks to platforms like YouTube. This shift did not happen overnight. Rather, it occurred through a slow but deadly evolution for conventional media. When YouTube was first launched, the platform was viewed as nothing more than a repository for low-quality home videos. Clad giants of the television and music industries dismissed it, assuming it was a passing fad enjoyed by bored teenagers. Yet, they failed to see the true potential of an algorithm that was constantly learning from human behavior. Over time, this platform transformed from a mere video-sharing site into a massive new economic ecosystem. Today, we are witnessing the birth of a business model known as YouTube automation, a concept where digital channels are operated much like modern media companies, without requiring the owner to show their face or even use their own voice. This concept completely flips traditional business logic on its head. In the past, building a television station required billions in capital, complex broadcasting licenses, hundreds of technical crew members, and massive transmission equipment. Now, a young person sitting in their bedroom in a small town can manage a network of YouTube channels that generate millions of views every month, armed with nothing more than a laptop and an internet connection. They hire freelance scriptwriters from the other side of the world, utilize professional voice talent, and employ gifted video editors through global platforms. This process creates a content production line that is highly efficient, incredibly fast, and most importantly, deeply adaptive to what the audience desires. The success of this independent model has triggered a silent panic among traditional media executives. Why are they panicking? The answer lies in audience attention. Attention is the most valuable currency in the digital age, and traditional media is losing that currency at a terrifying rate. When younger generations prefer to spend hours watching deep-dive documentary videos or pop culture analyses on YouTube rather than primetime television shows, conventional advertising revenue structures begin to crumble. Major corporations are now shifting their marketing budgets away from physical billboards and commercial television spots into the pockets of digital content creators who share a far more intimate connection with their audience. This phenomenon is not limited to information or light entertainment. It has bled into the most conservative sectors of the performing arts, such as music and theater. One of the most vivid examples of this power shift is the story of modern independent musicians who managed to break into prestigious theater stages like London's West End without ever signing a contract with a giant record label. In the past, to perform on a stage that corporate and classic, an artist had to endure grueling audition processes, secure a top-tier manager, and be backed by multi-million-dollar marketing campaigns. However, the power of digital communities has proven that view counts on a phone screen can be converted into tangible, real-world ticket sales. When an independent creator amasses millions of loyal followers on digital platforms, they are building a highly dedicated, militant fan base. The relationship between a digital creator and their audience feels intensely personal because it lacks the distance created by rigid television editing. The audience feels like they have been part of the creator's career journey since day one. This emotional bond is something mainstream entertainment products completely fail to replicate, as they often feel too polished, too corporate, and devoid of human soul. When the traditional industry claimed that digital success was just a mirage or an internet bubble bound to burst, they were instantly contradicted by the reality of historic theaters, usually reserved for the upper class, being packed to the brim with a new generation showing up to support their digital icons. Yet this journey toward total independence is far from smooth and is rife with controversy and behind-the-scenes speculation. Many voices from the old industry have begun lobbing accusations that the success of these independent creators is merely the result of metric manipulation or unfair algorithmic games. Rumors frequently surface, suggesting hidden capital or unethical tactics are used to boost the popularity of certain content. These criticisms often stem from sheer frustration because the old marketing methods they worshipped for decades are no longer effective. The traditional industry struggles to accept the reality that market tastes have fundamentally changed and that modern audiences are far sharper than they give them credit for. On the flip side, digital industry players must also confront internal challenges that are just as daunting, particularly regarding increasingly strict platform monetization and censorship policies. YouTube, as a massive corporation, possesses rules that are highly dynamic and often confusing for creators. The issue of content sensitivity is a terrifying specter for automation channel owners. To maintain ad revenue, they must navigate tight censorship regarding sensitive topics like legal disputes, personal conflicts, or mental health struggles. This has birthed a whole new language on the internet, where casual phrasing and linguistic codes are used to bypass automatic detection from platform artificial intelligence. Creators are forced to be highly inventive, not just in how they present a story, but in their choice of words to keep their videos safe while still feeding the human craving for drama. The human fascination with drama, mystery, and the darker side of success serves as the primary fuel for high viewer retention. Automated YouTube channels that succeed understand this psychology deeply. They do not just present dry facts that can be scraped from a page. Instead, they construct narratives like a detective story, where every minute of the video provides a new piece of the puzzle, compelling the viewer to stay tuned until the absolute last second. This scriptwriting technique, which eliminates long-winded introductions and cuts straight to the core of the conflict, is the key to why this new industry can outperform the watch times of mainstream media. This format shift is also changing how we consume information. Historically, we were accustomed to rigid news formats, where a sharply dressed anchor read a text in a monotonous drone. Today, that format feels utterly boring and archaic. Audiences want a story that flows naturally, using the kind of language you would hear when talking to a friend at a coffee shop, yet still possessing sharp investigative depth. This fusion of a casual tone and rigorous research is precisely what makes digital content feel so incredibly addictive. The long-term impact of this phenomenon is the true democratization of the creative industry. As video production technology becomes cheaper and access to global information widens, geographical and social boundaries begin to blur. An independent creator from a developing nation has the exact same opportunity to go viral in the United States or Europe as a creator living in downtown New York. Competition is no longer won by whoever has the biggest budget, but by whoever best understands the audience's desires and can package it into the most captivating narrative. This is cultural capitalism in its form, where the market directly determines the winner without any interference from biased studio executives. Naturally, the fall of old media dominance sparks debates regarding the quality of the content being produced. Cultural critics frequently complain that the automation model and an extreme focus on viewer retention can degrade the standards of journalism and art, turning everything into a commodity designed just to chase clicks. They argue that in the pursuit of algorithms and sensations, many channels sacrifice accuracy and resort to baseless speculation. These fears are not entirely unfounded, because in an ecosystem this competitive, the temptation to use clickbait titles and exaggerated narratives is immensely high. However, painting all independent creators as cheap click hunters is a massive mistake. Amid a sea of content, the market possesses a highly effective natural filtering mechanism. Channels that rely solely on sensation without quality substance are eventually abandoned by an audience that grows weary of the trick. Conversely, creators who manage to pair high-retention techniques with honest research and aesthetic presentation evolve into highly respected new media institutions. They become the primary alternative for a public that has begun losing faith in the neutrality of mainstream media, which is often steered by specific political or corporate interests. Looking to the future, the battle between independent digital empires and the traditional entertainment establishment will only intensify. We are beginning to see signs of traditional media trying to mimic the tactics of YouTube creators, from altering their editing styles to attempting to recruit internet stars to boost their plummeting ratings. Yet, these efforts frequently fail because they try to force an independent, free spirit into a rigid, bureaucratic corporate system. On the other side, digital creators are expanding their reach even further, moving beyond video content to launch clothing lines, produce their own indie films, and even independently fund massive social projects. Ultimately, what we are witnessing today is a rewriting of human history regarding how stories are shared. From the campfire days in ancient caves, the stages of classical Greek theater, the invention of the printing press, to the era of satellite television broadcasts, the essence of entertainment has always remained the exact same: the ability to captivate the human mind through a story. The difference now is that the pen used to write that story is no longer held exclusively by a handful of elite capital owners. That pen has broken into millions of digital shards, scattered into the hands of anyone brave enough to dream, take a risk, and build their own empire from nothing, right before a world that is watching in absolute awe.